All right. So we've got the recording going, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. I am really excited. I'm going to go ahead and ask everybody to mute themselves while we're kind of doing this. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. And then if you want to say something, just go ahead and unmute. Okay. So everybody, welcome. I'm so excited. It's the new year. This is going to be the biggest year we've ever had. We're already projecting huge numbers for the Hero program, huge number of tournaments. And our regions are growing so rapidly. It's just unbelievable. I'm so excited to see how this year goes. So I have a really exciting guest on today. We are really excited to be partnering with NEUROX Innovations. And just so you know, guys, this is going to change the whole face of our company and how, we're dealing with our amputees. And we're just offering them one more thing to make their transition into the world a little bit better with what NEUROX has been doing and is doing right now currently. So I'm really excited. I have a little introduction that I'm going to do for Mr. Jordan Doles, who's joining us. He's one of my good friends out here in Colorado too. So he's in the Fort Collins area. He's renowned for his research and for his work during his time at CSU. I'm super excited to introduce him. So I'm going to introduce him in just a second, and I'm going to go through just a couple updates. If people can stop calling me for at least 20 minutes, we'll be fine. So just so you guys know, I did join Audra's call last night. And Audra kind of went over a couple changes to the Cancun fact sheet. So we all know we're doing these Cancun trips. For those of you that are new to the company, I know we have a lot of new folks coming on board. These Cancun trips are awesome. We get them for, basically free. We can give them out to anybody who's donating to the Hero program. And we can utilize them in a lot of different ways. So I just want to make sure that you all know a training on the Cancun trips, an official training is coming. Those are going to be awesome. We've already utilized a lot. I know Michael Clancy's utilized some. I think Rich has utilized some. I know David's doing the whole thing out there. So an official training video on the Cancun trips is coming. I did want to just go ahead and share my screen and show you the updated fact sheet. So this is the new fact sheet. I just want to make sure everybody knows the winners will be contacted. All of this stuff is the same, but we did add this down here. So any questions that the winners have about their Cancun trip, they can visit the ilifestyle.cancuncards.com. They can email the reservations, or they can call. And remember, anybody in the world can win these trips. So we do have the phone numbers for each country on there. As you can see, we have the 1-800 number for the United States and Canada. We have the UK number, and then all other numbers, we'll call that last one. So just wanted to make sure that if you are giving away these Cancun trips right now, please make, the winners take a picture of this just so they have that. And then they can kind of keep that. It just eliminates the middleman, makes it a little bit easier for everybody. So if you don't have this fact sheet, it is on the CRM, or it will be at least today. So you can go ahead and download that and have that there for your use. Other than that, I did want to share that Audra and I have kind of been talking. She's been talking with her team as well about doing a big Cancun trip. Maybe sometime this summer for all of us on the team, since we get these for free now, basically for free, to go out there and experience the whole trip, the 5-day, 4-night stay. I know her team is talking about maybe mid-June. So I'm going to put a feeler out there on the GroupMe chat, see what everybody's thinking in terms of maybe a time frame that might work well for everybody. And maybe we can all go take a Cancun trip and have kind of like a team bonding experience and, all that kind of fun stuff. So Audra, you said your team is going out mid-June. Is that correct? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I put out a few different dates, and mid-June seemed like the best date for everybody on the team. So I thought that would be perfect. we'll get things going like with our teams and tournaments and stuff like that. And then whoever can make it can come join us. So what's nice is, you know, the 5 days, 4 nights, it sounds like a long time, but you know, if we do it like Sunday to Thursday or something like that, then it isn't so bad. And so we'll try to avoid, you know, weekend events and stuff like that.
Perfect. Yeah, love it. So I'll go ahead. It would be awesome to go out with Audra's team as well. Maybe we can just do a whole team as, you know, a nationwide company. I don't know what it looks like for the resorts down there, if they can accommodate all of us. I know we have a big group nationwide now. So we'll kind of be getting back to you guys on that, but I will put out a feeler about timeframes for everybody on the group me. So please look out for that. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Jordan Doles. So Jordan is, he's an awesome guy. I actually met him this last year and we've become good buddies. He's here in Fort Collins. Like I said, he went to CSU, and he's the founder of and the CEO of NEUROX Innovations and has a strong background in clinical research pertaining to the neurophysiological, neuroanatomical, and neuropsychological. I nailed it, didn't I? Implications of phantom limb syndrome, so otherwise known as PLS. And based on his research, he's invented a breakthrough medical device known as the Skeletron X, which is designed to treat the various symptoms of PLS for amputees around the world. So Jordan is incredibly proud to have the opportunity to work and serve our great nation, our wonderful veterans, and to be able to work with EFS. And we're going to be officially partnering with him in multiple different regions, but heavily in this region, my region here in Colorado, the mountain desert area out in Arizona, and the Midwest regions. So Jordan, we'd love to kind of learn from you today. And I can have you share the screen if you would like, but please go ahead. You're being recorded, so this will be emailed out to the whole team. But we'd love to learn about NEUROX today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the intro. First off, yeah, I'd love to share the screen if it's possible. I don't know if there's a host function that you need to put on.
I think you can just click the share screen because I'm not sharing right now. So I think you should be able to just click that.
It looks like I can. Perfect. Okay. Let's see. Bear with me for a second. I'm trying to get the right thing.
Oh, no problem at all.
All right, cool. Can everybody see the screen that my mouse is on?
Yes.
Cool. Well, first off, Leslie, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you all for being here. And I'd encourage any and all of you to unmute yourself at any point in time and interrupt me and ask any questions that you might have. I'm going to go through kind of a general overview of what phantom limb syndrome is for those of you that are not familiar with it. And I'm also going to talk about the technology that we're going to be able to provide to a lot of these veteran amputees because of the work that you guys are doing at EFS and really enabling us to be able to give back to those who serve. It's a major goal of ours, and very proud to be able to be a part of it. So first things first, what is phantom limb syndrome? Throughout your entire body, you guys have a ton of neurons that course throughout your entire body, and they're about as common as skin. And so when you get an amputation, or I guess to relate it, right? If you were to break your leg, the reason that it hurts is because your body is telling your brain something is critically wrong. And so your brain triggers a pain response. And that pain response tells you to go to the doctor and get a cast on that broken leg, or don't step on that anymore. You're going to hurt it worse. When you get an amputation, it's a similar kind of feeling. And this is called phantom limb syndrome, and it occurs after the amputation is done. So it's pain in a limb that does not exist. The reason for it is because these neurons down here, let's say you have this amputation above the knee. These neurons down here are constantly sending information back to the brain saying that something is critically wrong. And so they've tried to do a bunch of different stuff in terms of how to treat this. Have not found a great treatment yet up until NEUROX Innovations and our Skeletronics device, which research indicates is going to be the best treatment for phantom limb syndrome to date. And so here's the hard part about it. Phantom limb syndrome, there are 51.93 million amputees around the globe that suffer from phantom limb syndrome. Specifically, 90% of all amputees suffer from phantom limb syndrome. So there's 57.7 million around the globe, 51.93 of which have phantom limb syndrome. Of the phantom limb syndrome demographic, 92.5% of them suffer from depression, and 27.5% of them will attempt suicide, which is an alarmingly high number, and it is something that needs to change. A lot of this is because of opioid prescriptions. So you'll see a couple of different treatments right now, and I don't know if you guys have kind of seen these, but you have TENS treatment. It's a short-term segmental analgesic or analgesic, and it requires the cords and cables, time-consuming, not very popular. It only works for those that it works for. It'll reduce pain by about 50% at a high point. Virtual reality. If you're wearing the virtual reality goggles, you can look through them, and it looks as if you have two arms or two legs, but it's not very practical. You can't live in those. So it's a pretty subpar treatment in terms of the treatments that currently exist. Mirror therapy. You place a mirror parasagittally between both of your legs, one of which is the amputated limb. You have your intact limb in front of the mirror, and it looks as if you have two legs. A lot of guys that I talk to will be, actually, I don't know if all of you know Jose Martinez, but I was talking to him and he goes, "I'm not stupid. I know that's not my leg in the mirror." And this is a response that I get frequently. And so it's an intangible psychotherapy. It only works for a very small amount of the demographic. And then we have the most common treatment, prescription opioids, cost between $6,000 to $14,000 a year. If you could think about it, a treatment life cycle typically lasts for about 10 years for phantom limb syndrome. Somebody's going to pay between $60,000 and $140,000 for their treatment just to get the drugs that actually don't really work well for phantom limb syndrome. They're highly addictive. They lead to multiple suicidal attempts. Oftentimes, I'll have guys tell me that they have tried to mix their prescription opioids and alcohol to attempt suicide numerous amounts of times. And it's a very difficult thing to manage. It's the most common though, because it takes no time. Let's say you have phantom limb syndrome and you're feeling really bad sensations of phantom limb syndrome. At any point in time, you can go run to the bathroom and pop a couple of pills. You don't have to go to a therapy session. You don't have to sit there for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. So people really jump at it, unfortunately. So we've come up with a solution. Our solution is called Skeletronics. Right now, we're in an advanced stage of development, and the purpose of Skeletronics is to reduce those symptoms of phantom limb syndrome for veteran and civilian amputees alike. Skeletronics is a wearable device. It uses Bluetooth electromagnetic pulse therapy. It also is compatible with our iOS and Android compatible user interface. We have a proprietary custom printed circuit board that really runs the entire system, and it's all homed within a 3D printed lightweight and aesthetic design. And I'll show you guys that next. So on your left, you're going to see a typical prosthetic limb. This is about $30,000, and I'd say pretty much one of the average prosthetics that you'll see with somebody with an amputation. Skeletronics goes over the prosthetic, and so it snaps onto the prosthetic, and it is lined with pressure-sensitive resistors. And so you can push anywhere on Skeletronics, and you'll get a stimulation upstream of the device through the liner onto the stump of the amputated limb or the distal end of the residual limb. And so in addition to that, Skeletronics matches the contour of the intact leg. So let's say I had lost my left leg from the knee down. What I want to know is the circumference of that person's right calf, because then we can 3D print Skeletronics to be able to match that. When it comes to mirror therapy and virtual reality therapy, the reason that those work, they target the visual system, and really visually being able to see, I guess, with pants on or not, that you have that same contour, being able to touch something that feels like a leg plays really well with the science and the actual therapeutic in itself. So how does it work? Let's say I was to touch up here on the prosthetic towards the knee. If I was to push really hard, I'd get a really hard stimulation upstream of the prosthetic through the liner on the top electromagnetic pulse electrodes. If I was to push a little bit lower, I would get that same stimulation on the lower end of the distal end of the residual limb. The harder that you push, the harder the stimulation. The softer that you push, the softer the stimulation. And so it really does emulate the force and the pressure that's being applied to a real leg on a prosthetic limb. What this does is it onsets something called neuromodulation. So essentially, it's tying in that prosthetic to the person's body such that they can start to feel the prosthetic as if it's part of their own body after just a few weeks of wearing it. With that, you're going to have people that vary in size, that vary in pain tolerance. So let's say Paul, we put it on Paul. Paul weighs 300 pounds. And he can take 150 hertz worth of stimulation. But we also put it on Mary. Mary weighs 100 pounds and she has a really low pain tolerance. So she doesn't want 150 hertz of stimulation for her maximum threshold. They use the MySkeletronics app and they can really adjust how hard that stimulation is and make it favorable for them so that it can actually feel like it's their real leg. Cool part about the MySkeletronics app is that it all ties in with data collection. So we're able to collect a ton of data to constantly improve on Skeletronics to make it better and better. But in addition to that, we're implementing a heart rate monitor into the liner so that we can test for things like blood flow. A lot of diabetics are actually amputees, or actually a lot of amputees are diabetic. And so they will have blood flow issues and stuff like that. So with the ability to gather data, we can preemptively warn the amputees of certain conditions that they might be onset to, or they might have an onset to, so that they can kind of combat the issue ahead of time instead of having to get another amputation a little bit higher. It's a very frequent problem that they have. So by wearing Skeletronics, we're expecting to see a significant reduction in phantom limb syndrome, as well as the subsequent rate of depression, suicide, opioid and narcotic prescriptions, as well as an enhanced sense of spatial proprioception. I get questions on what that even is all the time. Spatial proprioception is your understanding of where your body is in space. And so the way that we learn how to walk as kids is by bumping into things and hurting ourselves. So when you have that prosthetic limb and you bump it into the side of a coffee table or something, you're not going to feel anything of it. And so you don't have that negative reinforcement to help you guide where you walk. If you bump this prosthetic limb with Skeletronics on it into something at a pretty hard, you'll get a pretty hard stimulation because of it, and it'll help you autonomously start to guide your prosthetic as you walk a lot easier. Really what this does, I mean, it enhances the entire prosthetic experience. And so, you know, you talk to a lot of these guys that have tried a lot of these different therapies, and they'll tell you, tried everything, it doesn't work. I actually had a guy, 71 years old, his name's Peter. He's got 2 kids, a wife. He's an Army vet, and he's got a history of success. He calls me because we had a article posted in a magazine called Amplitude Magazine. And he goes, I've tried every treatment under the sun. I won't try opioids, which God bless him, I respect that. I won't try opioids, but before I had seen your guys' article, I was going to pursue physician-assisted suicide. It's an extremely common thing. This is not, the only story that I've heard like that, unfortunately. People have told me that to deal with their phantom limb syndrome, what they'll do is they'll bite the insides of their cheeks until they bleed because it's a real tangible pain. What we're doing is we're providing a real tangible feeling to a prosthetic to give feeling of a leg that's not there anymore. And so by being able to have this relationship with Elite Fundraising Solutions, we really do have the opportunity to make massive donations and to help with the veteran amputees that struggle with this phantom limb syndrome. In addition to PTSD and all of the other issues that they might be facing, this is just one that we might be able to take away from them, which would be a blessing. So thank you all for everything that you guys do. I'm blessed to be a part of this entire mission, and I hope that we can make some massive contributions.
Thank you so much, Jordan. That was awesome. Thanks for putting together that presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would
Hey,
love,
Jordan.
Yeah, open it up.
Yeah. Hey, Jordan, it's David in Texas.
How you doing, David?
I'm doing good. First of all, this is amazing stuff.
Thank you.
For somebody that has all my limbs, and seeing other people that have lost their limbs. You know, we run into a lot of veterans and first, you know, they've lost their limbs. You don't really think that this is an issue. They already lost a leg or an arm.
Yep.
Okay, what's left? Okay, the damage is already done, but I didn't realize these people, and it makes sense, it's totally logical. Our bodies are amazing. It's totally logical that this pain would exist. Your brain doesn't understand what happened. It does. I get it. Like, but I had to ask you, how did you get started with this? You know, and where did it all begin? Can you answer that quickly?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for the question and for commenting on that. So, first off, I grew up in Berthoud, which is a small town in Colorado, northern Colorado. My best friend growing up was a congenital amputee. So I was always super perceptive of amputees. And I guess you don't recognize all of the amputees walking around until you do. It's kind of like when you're looking for a car that you want to buy and you see one and you're like, oh, I like that one a lot. All of a sudden you get it and everybody on the road has that same car. And you realize everywhere there are different amputees. And so I had gone to college and studied neuroscience, cell molecular neuroscience. And in this field, we had this class and it started talking about amputations and phantom limb syndrome. And I just dove into it. And so I spent about 3 years studying phantom limb syndrome with a couple of different PhDs at the university that I went to in Colorado. And it was it became obvious to me for a solution. And really, it's one of those things that that you just act on. I think so many people have innovative ideas and creations that they're great ideas, but they don't actually act on them. I was walking to the kitchen. I had banged my shin on the side of a coffee table and I grabbed my shin because it hurt. And just because of how relevant amputations were in my life, I thought, amputees can't do that. They can't grab where it hurts. And grabbing where it hurts is an essential part of the human mechanistic response to being able to reduce pain without having to do anything for it. Just because, you're watching yourself grab your leg, you're feeling through your hand that you're grabbing your leg. And in turn, you feel through your leg that it's being grabbed. And it kind of collects the entire body into one circuit or loop to where you can ensure that you're okay. And really, I took that concept and thought, okay, well, let's put it on a prosthetic limb. At first, I thought, we'll make a prosthetic limb, and that prosthetic will embed all of this technology into it. But then I realized, number one, that would make it way too expensive for the general demographic to purchase, which I think is a big problem in the amputation and prosthetic space today. So I thought, okay, we'll make it so that it can fit over any prosthetic limb, and it's actually affordable by the mass demographic. And that's really kind of what led us to this point. I had met some amazing business people. I'm 23 years old, so sitting where I'm sitting right now is unusual, and it's a blessing. So I had met some amazing guys that are, 50, 60, 70 experienced executives in business and put this together and got some engineers, and here we are. But to give you an idea of what the pain is like, I mean, I've had people describe it as if somebody is driving a red hot nail into their shin, or like somebody is taking an electrified pitchfork and stabbing them at a centimeter an hour, or somebody's ripping their toes off. It's excruciating pain. Thus the high amount of depression and suicide. And so to be able to have an impact on that is pretty amazing and exciting.
One other question, Jordan, going forward, maybe this hasn't been discussed all the way, but we're going to be talking to veterans out. We're going to be talking to our heroes out there.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to be running into these amputees, and they're going to be like, how do I get help? How do we push these people to you through the program? Does that make sense? Is that a good question?
That's a great question. And it's a question that I don't necessarily have the answer for, besides I'll give you all my phone number and email, and anybody can reach out and contact me. I could even send out business cards, and that would make it easy. And then you go, oh, call this guy, and that could work. But that's a great question, and it's a very good point. So Leslie, we're gonna have to figure out a good way to do that.
Well, and I thought too, since you'll be working really closely with For the Fallen, and some
Yep.
of our amputees that we already have, we can kind of set it up. Just so you guys know, Jordan is working very closely with Jamie and Greg and Adam and everybody who's put together For the Fallen, which is one of our main nationwide beneficiaries. He's met with them multiple times. He's met with a lot of our amputees that we are already helping with their prosthetics. And so maybe somehow we can kind of marry the two and have, For the Fallen involved. But I think too, just having everybody, get your email would be great until we figure out the best way to do this. Cause I'm sure, this is just the beginning of the partnership. And I'm sure Jay and Amanda and, some of the corporate people will kind of want to chime in with that too. So, but for
Certainly,
now,
what I'm going to do
yeah,
right now in the chat is I'll just type in.
yeah, thanks for doing that.
Oh, can't enter on this.
Yeah, and it's so exciting just to be able to see how things are progressing, not just with prosthetic limbs, but with the things that come with prosthetic limbs. And I mean, this is gonna change everything, Jordan. So we're so excited that you're, working with us, that we're gonna be able to provide everybody that needs this with the sleeve and with, the Skeletron X, or the Skeletronics.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. Yeah, thank you. It's really exciting, and it's also a lot of fun to be able to interface with a lot of these guys. I mean, you meet people that are just outstanding people. One, I mean, I think the biggest impression that anybody's left on me was Jose Martinez. That guy defines resilience. I mean,
yeah,
to be a Paralympic surfer now for the U.S. team, badass. The fact that he never surfed a day in his entire life until he had his amputation. I mean, there's just so many different people that I get to meet that just face things head on, and it's an honor to be able to work with them.
yes.
Jordan, may I ask,
Can I ask?
what's the cost for the sleeves?
So for veteran amputees, we're going to have a system to be able to provide them to them at no cost. Typically, it'll cost $8,000.
Awesome. Did somebody else
Jordan,
have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Jim in South Carolina. Everything that you got right now is so if they have a prosthetic, I have an example. So I have a buddy he had a farm accident when he was 9 years old. He's in his 50s. One day we were having lunch. I said, "Do you ever have phantom pain? Like any still?" And he goes, "Oh, it's funny that you asked." He goes, I have an itch on my arm right now, which is no longer there." He has no arm and no shoulder, so there's no prosthetic for that injury. Do you have anything that possibly could work for somebody like that? I'm sure there's going to be guys in the same boat.
Jim, if you don't mind me, where are you located at?
Well, I'm in South Carolina, but he's in Nebraska.
Got it. Okay. No, I know a guy named Sean who farm accident, lost his arm all the way up to the shoulder as well as his leg. So thought we might be talking about the same guy.
Yeah.
There are definitely things that we could do. And we're actually designing right now an additional product called the NEUROX Pulse. And that's going to be something that can be worn when somebody is falling asleep or sitting on the couch watching TV. You find that a lot of these guys, they get home, they take their prosthetic off, and then all of a sudden they have extreme phantom pain sensations. And so they'll sit there and just, eat gabapentin until it goes away, which obviously not a great way to do it. So we're creating something that people can sit down, watch TV, whatever. It's not interactive. They can fall asleep. And that uses TENS therapy. TENS therapy is pretty common. Purpose for amputees, though, it's difficult. People have to go in for therapy, and 3 to 5 times a week for the right amount of pads. And it's difficult to find the right thing without spending too much money. And so we're trying to combat that by developing this product right now. And it'll be something that should be able to reduce pain for anywhere between 60 to 90, all the way up to 120 minutes after usage, which should allow them to actually fall asleep or sit down and enjoy some TV or football or whatever it might be.
This might be somebody that you might, you might want to talk to, because he's a national speaker. And he also, I mean, this happened at 9. He was right-handed and he lost his right hand. And the way I became friends with him, he played basketball in college for a couple of years. And he's 6'5", and right now he's about 300 pounds. But I was covering him. He went behind his back, around his back, and got me on my heels. And I looked at him. I said, "You'll never do that again." I go, "I didn't know you had that kind of game," because he usually shot from about 35 feet out.
Yeah.
I think he might be a great guy for you to connect with.
Jim, oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go
No,
ahead.
you're fine. No, I was just saying, I'll give you a call.
Perfect. Yeah, I was going to say, I put my contact information in the
Yep.
chat. So if you want to reach out at any point, it'd be great.
Yep. All right. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And
if anybody else has any questions based on curiosity or anything about the condition or how this kind of works, feel free to ask away. And
hi, Jordan. Rich Klipka. I'm over in the Northeast.
how you doing?
Okay, thank you. Just getting over a bout with COVID, so my voice, throat having some issues. But first of all, phenomenal what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing. And just one thing that came to my mind, not long after I started with Elite, I was doing a hero day, and a gentleman came up to me afterwards and said, "I'm a veteran. I need a support dog. Can you help me?" Because he needed a special kind of dog where he lived. Long story short, I set him up with For the Fallen, and they were able to get him that support dog that he needed. So, I mean, it gives us a certain involvement, how we're directly involved with the program and how we can help people and just not, quote, be looking for money. I think there's such a self-satisfaction about how we can help somebody. Another example, over here, we partner with several PGA Hope regions with the Hope program for veterans. And I've been to several of their schools where they have a separate group for amputees. And they have all these different devices and the clumsiness trying to learn the game of golf and have an activity. But I think given, and granted, I totally don't understand all the science behind what you're doing by any means, but it seems like once we get this program going in association with you and we can connect other people with you, it's going to greatly improve their lives. Because when I see a veteran try to swing a golf club and he has a machine behind him to stand up straight with prosthetics, I mean, this can be even more life-changing for a veteran or first responder that I think I just don't have the words. I think that can improve their life. And at least we played a small part in helping somebody. And I think that's what the Hero program is about. So
I love that, Rich. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
And there's a guy that I know. He was actually, I think, like number 3 in the world for golf as an amputee. He had lost his right leg and his right arm, and so he would swing the club with his left arm backwards, and he'd use a righty driver. And this guy would beat 90% of people I've played with in golf all day long. And really what I think, and the point of that is it's about, kind of building a community. And I think that the more people that you can connect with, the more of a community you could really build and help people and guide people to the right people. There's a company that we work with also called Adaptive Adventures, and Adaptive Adventures helps people kind of get into the sports that they used to love to play. Biking, rock climbing, stuff like that, to where they're an amputee, but they could still kind of participate in things that they can't physically participate in their own head, I guess. But it helps them figure it out. So that's an awesome point there, Rich. Yes, sir.
John in New Mexico.
How you doing, John?
Good. First off, thank you for your perseverance in the incubation process. I know it can be a real roller coaster. So congratulations coming through the other side there.
Thank you.
2 questions for you. One, is this get plugged in at night because it's hooked up to the Android or the iPhone? And the second question is it water resistant or waterproof?
It is both water resistant and it does get plugged in at night. So there's a replaceable rechargeable lithium ion battery pack on the liner as well as the cover. In the cover, it gets homed within there. Like I said, right now we're in an advanced stage of development. So how long those batteries last is a question that we're going to find out really soon. But should last long enough to where somebody can wear it for a couple of days and not have to plug it in. And we'll also be able to provide them with additional batteries. So let's say you go out for the day and it dies. The nice part about this unit is it's not a matter of life or death if the battery dies, but it's still nice to have a backup battery so you can keep that with you and pop it in there. It'll be easy.
Great question.
Great question.
Does anyone else have a question for Jordan? And I know too, you know, our team is just great about reaching out to Jordan. I'd love to kind of keep you in the loop with some of our team meetings like this and at least invite you to some of these just to kind of chime in. We do our regionals every week and then our monthly nationwide calls too. Obviously, we have some of our best leaders on this call around the country, but this call will kind of be emailed out to everybody else as well. And
Awesome.
So everybody can learn, and this is amazing. And just so you guys know, Jose Martinez, who Jordan was kind of speaking about, he's one of our amputees. So we got him his prosthetics through For the Fallen. He's a triple amputee, and like Jordan said, a professional surfer, and he's amazing. I actually have it on my radar to ask Jose to come on to one of our calls very soon to tell us his story. So that's going to be a really great call. I know Jordan's kind of heard his story. I've heard his story a couple times when I've been around him this last time in California. I mean, it's just an amazing story, and just the amount of joy that this man exudes is just insane. He's just wonderful. So he's going to be joining one of our calls soon, probably within a month or so. So please keep your eye out for that. That'll be a really, really good one. So does anybody else have a question for Jordan at this point? And was everybody able to find his contact information in the chat? Okay, and for those of you listening on the phone or tuning in other areas, I will go ahead and email Jordan, if that's okay with you. I'll email everybody on my team at least, and the RVPs, your contact information. That way
Absolutely.
they can get it out to their teams as well. But normally, you know, you'll probably just be hearing from the TMs and the RVPs anyway. But David asked a really good question about how we're going to kind of integrate referrals. I think, you know, that is something you and I can come up with Jay and Amanda and get a good system in place. So please keep an update or a lookout for an update from us on that. But
you know, we're working on a brochure right now with a design person. So we're going to wait until they're done. Once we have that brochure, we should be able to provide you guys with a ton of them just to even keep on the desks. That way you can hand them out if you want to, then they can get all sorts of information. That makes it a lot easier than going, oh yeah, hold on, I have a screenshot of this guy's phone number.
right.
Here's his phone number, you know, so.
For the website.
Yeah, but yeah, Leslie, it'd be awesome to be able to join these calls whenever it's available.
Perfect.
I love to be able to talk about what we're doing and kind of hear your guys' ideas as well. And really, the nice part about what we're doing is it's all kind of idea based. I love ideas. And so if anybody has ideas on, hey, you know what, have you ever thought about integrating this into it? That could help. No, but maybe we should, you know. Great ideas happen because people chip in. So I appreciate you all for listening and thinking about kind of brainstorming on what we're doing here and the effect that it's going to have. And yeah, and all the work that you guys do is incredible. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Jordan. Thank you so much for joining this call. Just so you guys know, we will have a change in schedule for next week's call. We will be joining Audra's call at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 5 o'clock p.m. Here in Colorado. And we're going to be going over booking tournaments, sourcing leads, how to speak to tournament leaders, you know, organizers, and the tournament directors. But we will also be showing you with our screens, you know, how to utilize Facebook, how to utilize Eventbrite, how to utilize golftourney.com, and some of these other ways to find tournaments. I think Chris is was going to try to join here in Denver. I know he has a couple good ways and methods of Oh, there he is. Hello, Chris.
Hello. Sorry if it's a little loud. I'm at the swing base, so
Oh, no
indoor
worries.
AC.
Oh, that's awesome.
So apologize.
Oh, it looks awesome in there though. I'm jealous. But I know you've had a couple cool things that you've discovered in terms of finding and sourcing tournaments. So I'd love to have you speak next week about that as well.
Perfect. Be glad to. Be glad to share whatever I can.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. Well, thank you, everybody. Does anybody else have one more question for Jordan?
Yeah, Leslie, I'm sorry, when is that going to be with Audra?
So that's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday next week instead of Wednesday. Sorry, I don't think I said that. It was going to be on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'd love to have everybody across the country join that one as well. Please invite your teams. It's going to be a great call. And Jordan, I'll make sure you get an invite to all of these calls as well, because I think the more you're integrated with Elite and understand where we're at, the better we can all work together. So thank you guys so much. If nobody else has a question, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the meeting, but I'll open it up one more time. Anybody have any questions for Jordan?
I've got no questions, but I would like Jim and Tom to call me when they get a chance, please. Yes. Or I'll make it a question. Could you please call me? How's that?
Yeah, you got it, Michael.
Hey, thank you guys all so much. I really appreciate everybody's time, and I look forward to talking to you all soon.
All right. Thank you, Jordan. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'll email this out to everybody who needs to review it. And Happy New Year. Let's go, 2023. Have a great day, everybody.
Happy New Year, guys.
Bye-bye.
All the best, guys.